again. You know, the League of Women Voters of San Luis Obispo is bringing you this show for 9 years. And every 3-4 years, we decide it's time you learn something about the League of Women Voters of San Luis Obispo County. So today, my guest, and you can tell she's a very important guest because their cups match. Normally, the guests have a red cup, not fancy like this. But our guest today is Trudy Jarrett, the current president of the League of Women Voters at San Luis Obispo. Welcome, Trudy.
Thank you. It's nice to be here, Adele.
It's nice having you. Now, the first thing we're going to do is remind the audience that this is a volunteer organization.
Indeed.
And as a volunteer organization, everybody in the organization taping the show are volunteers. So I'd like you to, Donna, come over here for a second. I want the audience to see Donna. Come on over here, Donna Damon, who is one of our volunteers, who does, she signals me when the show is going on and things like that. Smile, one of the cameras, anyone. Now you can leave.
Okay.
Sarah Horn, just stick your head in over here. Just a little bit, clutch your...
My head here.
Go in the center and kneel down.
Come over here between us so people can see you.
Now, Sarah, in addition to being one of our volunteer camera people and everything, is also an ex-president of the League of Women Voters of San Luis Obispo County.
And Torrance, and the city of Torrance.
And
Okay, that too. Okay, now don't trip on your way out.
I will not trip.
Okay,
Thank you.
now we have another volunteer league member who is in the other room doing all the things that it has to be done to make the show work. This is Janet Caracas. So she's going to come and smile at you too. So without these volunteers and those in the past who've been on the committee and have worked with us, you wouldn't have this show. But of course, lately we've become a bigger organization, so we also have somebody we give actual money to, Randy. And not only do we give him actual money, he's a man, because we are an equal opportunity organization. So we have Randy.
Big bucks.
Big bucks.
Is that
Big
your last
bucks.
name? What's your last
Yeah,
name?
Randy Big Bucks Allen.
Randy
When's my
Allen.
raise?
You get half of what I get.
All right.
Okay, so now that you know who is bringing you the show, those are the people. But the organization is the League of Women Voters. Mm-hmm. It's part of a national group. Now,
That's
Trudy,
correct.
you want to tell us something about the national organization?
Yes, that's one thing we want to emphasize is that the League is a grassroots organization. We're really from the bottom up. But we have a national presence. They're located in headquarters in Washington, D.C., because we do affect public policy. So we often talk with our elected officials in Washington. There is a board of directors that's elected every 2 years by delegates sent to a national convention. They that are on the board have a variety of responsibilities, and they oversee all issues that pertain to national issues that must be handled throughout the whole United States.
Okay, then I'm going to remind the audience that the League of Women Voters does have a Washington presence because, as we do in Sacramento and as we do locally, we get involved in issues that may be politically oriented, issues that come before our governing agencies. We never get involved in any partisan issues. We do not support or oppose people. That does cause confusion because once in a while we'll support an issue that certain people like.
That's correct.
And then we'll oppose an issue that other people wanted. So we are equally annoying people all the time from different spectrums.
Well, we don't intend to do that, though.
No,
but we are, as you say, we are an issue-oriented organization. We are political, but non-partisan.
Now, the League of Women Voters in the United States started.
Oh my goodness, in 1920, as a matter of fact, February 14th of 2007, we celebrated our 87th anniversary as an organization.
We started as a result of the women's suffrage movement.
That's correct.
When women got the right to vote, the women at the time said, okay, now we can vote, but we better make sure that we cast informed votes. We don't just vote like the man in our life told us to.
That's right.
And that did cause problems with a lot of the women because people did not like the idea that women could think and vote. So we were a women's only organization.
Originally, we were. That's correct.
Until somebody realized that the men didn't know how to vote either. So we welcomed men as members and decided we're going to help them cast what we like to call an informed vote.
That's right. That's one of the important parts of our mission. We educate and inform individuals who will go to the polls, but also we educate and inform every citizen, actually every person, who lives in the United States. We feel that it's very important for every individual to be educated on the issues that concern them.
Now, at the national level and the state level, it's the same board and everything, and the local level, we sort of work together, but
we do.
The things we decide to do come from the bottom up to the top.
Correct.
But we have two tracks. that we
That's
run
right.
on parallel to each other. And this drives the most of people crazy because we have what we call our education tract and our advocacy tract.
That's correct. And there is a firewall between both of them.
Such a firewall that if she, as president, cannot take an advocacy track except on things that the league has already supported.
That's correct.
As a person, if she wanted to talk about something, she can't even talk about it. I can't talk about it because I am involved with this program, which is an educational program. On this program, you will never see anything that pushes any point of view. In fact, that the split is so big that when we do have a point of view we wish to discuss, we have another whole program.
That's true. We have another program we established just a few years ago, and the name of that program is Public Issues. We have a different host for that program, and it deals only with advocacy, positions that we take on issues that we have studied. And by the way, we do not take a position on any issue unless we study that issue.
Now, in case you want to talk to us, we don't even know if you're watching the program. A lot of times we worry about that, but if you want to talk to the League of Women Voters, we have a website and we have a phone number. Maybe it'll appear on the screen, but if not, the phone number's in the phone book. It's actually in those reddish pages at the beginning.
Well, I can help with the phone number.
Oh, yeah.
It is, of course, area code 805-543-2220.
Right.
That's 543-2220.
But it and the address is in the phone book. Just in case you don't have
Indeed
pencil
it
and
is.
paper to write it down, keep that in mind. It's in the
is.
phone book.
It is.
Okay, now, when it comes to the mission of the League of Women Voters of the United States,
Yes.
we have a mission, which we can tell you about, but one of it, the education part. I brought all these things. Some of them are a
you're
little bit out
wonderful.
of date, but I want to jump to the state, because some
Okay.
of these, like this is put on by the League of Women Voters of State of San Luis Obispo. It says
That's
what
right.
about membership. This is one we published called Facts for Voters. You want to know what it takes to vote, what it needs? We got that one for you. This is one called Ballot Initiatives. Do you like them? Do you hate them? Learn how we got them and what they do. The League has that. Then we publish in English and in Spanish something called Know Your County that tells you all about the county.
That's right.
These are also available.
And that's done on our county level here,
The
down
county-
here locally.
Yes, this is our county, not just any
our
county.
county, right.
Then the State of League of Women Voters publishes something, Guide to California Government, that tells you all about California government. Now,
That's right.
if any of these things interest you, you just contact the League. We have one put out by the State of California about all the judicial system and all
That's
the
right.
judges.
That's right.
So we have all these things we would like to share with you.
Let's talk just for a moment about Know Your County. One thing that I think the audience should understand is that throughout the state, leagues that are county leagues will put together a Know Your County. But in some of the larger cities, there'll be a Know Your City. So if anybody moves to another city or another county, you can look up your local League of Women Voters and ask for their document that will tell you everything you ever wanted to know about the government in the either city or county that you'll be moving to.
All right, and then we hit on this separation between advocacy and education. Now,
An important one.
most of the time, you only hear about us when there's an election. People pay attention to us at election time because we do candidates programs where we introduce the candidates, don't advocate or say how you should vote on them. We do pros and cons on the ballot measures. So then all of a sudden, a different person completely than the one who did the pro and con will take a position that the league is recommending a yes vote on a proposition or something like that. It recommends a yes vote maybe on Proposition 452. And so we want you to vote yes on 452. So then we will have a program someplace else, not here, or go on television, or stand up someplace and say, vote yes on 452. But it'll never be a face or a voice that you saw doing a evenly balanced program. They say, how can you be so evenly balanced when you're so for? Well, there's different people that are evenly balanced
Well,
and for.
actually, we probably should mention that our members are trained. We provide training to our members so they understand how to get up before an audience and speak in a fair and balanced way. I shouldn't use that term, I guess, but when we're doing voter service, that we give an objective presentation on whatever the issue
They're
is.
telling you to talk to that camera.
I'm talking to that camera. I'm usually
keep-
behind the camera.
Right.
So this is a new experience for
She's
me.
here. She's here wearing three hats: the guest, the president of the league, and a camera person who's now out in front. So,
And the producer.
and the producer of the show, too. So, Randy, make hand signals. Tell us where to talk. Where to talk to this one? Yeah, I don't understand his signals. Okay, we're going to go on. We had an interesting example of the League activity at the national level. The League of Women Voters of the United States of America started the presidential debates.
Ah, yes.
We put them on first year, maybe 4 years later we put the second one on. I think it was at the second debate that the trouble started. Any of you old enough to remember, want to tell them, Trudy, what happened?
Well, let me try to summarize it briefly.
one.
I'm into this other camera, so excuse me. And now I'm into this camera over here. This is going to be a great exercise. My neck is getting wonderful exercise today. What happened was that League has a wonderful reputation of being objective. And when we have debates between candidates running for office, everything is very balanced, and we want to make sure, it is our objective really to make sure that the voter gets all the information they possibly can. But the political parties came into play because they wanted to have more of a role in determining just how the debates would occur, what kind of questions were asked, how the set was laid out, who would sit on the right or the left. And the League is not so concerned about that. We want you to see the real candidate in a natural setting.
The League had a policy that you couldn't applaud and cheer or hold up banners. They wanted to be able to have their people applauding and cheering, and they wanted to be able to boo the enemy. We said, no camera on the audience at all. Cameras will stay on the candidates.
Right.
You cannot let your people do anything. And so then what happened?
There were a bunch of issues about that, and what people wanted, and League is, vanilla ice cream. It's just give you the facts, that's it, C-SPAN type of thing, and that just didn't sit well with the major political parties. So League, after great discussion, decided that it's probably most appropriate if we do not continue in that role. And since that time, the political parties have pretty much taken over. They have a little commission or committee where they set up all the rules, and then they usually try to look for someone who is a reporter or a commentator that asks the questions. And we've seen all of those over the years, except I do want to mention that I just heard that our National League will be looking into doing some debates with the coming elections. So they are going to try to get back in that role again. Now, whether or not it's presidential, I'm not sure, but certainly at the senator level, I think we're going to be seeing the League get back into this again.
And we also have one little problem with the debates, too. If I remember correctly, we were willing to have the third-party candidate on our debates.
Yes, we were.
We thought that was fair. The third-party, there was a time when there was a third-party candidate who had a big support, and it seemed like only right to give that person equal time. And the two major parties got a little angry at us for that. Major parties get angry at us periodically because I wanted to tell you what happened in the state of California.
Oh my goodness, should we say that? Should we really tell this?
I think it's funny. But first we're going to tell you about the state of California League of Women Voters. The League of Women Voters of the state of California, California became the 6th state to give women the right to vote in the state. That was in 1911. The California Civic League was formed for women then. But in 1919, when Carrie Chapman urged the Civic League to merge with the League of Women Voters who was forming. So about 1920, the first League of Women Voters of California started.
Right.
So we've had lots of things going on. I got a whole list of things that went on that the League of Women Voters of the state of California did. What they did during the war, they helped establish Battle Production Week in California. They have done a lot of things, which we can tell you some other time.
They have. They've also been actually involved in the Williamson Act, if I recall correctly, that the State League is very supportive of the Williamson Act. They're also supportive of CEQA, to bring you up to the currently what State League is doing.
Okay, now, of course, they may make enemies because they did support the Coastal Act Initiative. They sponsored gubernatorial debates and things like that.
That's
now,
true.
the funny thing, which she's telling me that we're going to go to break shortly, I shouldn't tell, so, well, anyhow,
Well, there's
yes.
so much to discuss.
Well, the funny thing about the State of California League was we do take positions on issues. The issue that we have a strong position on is reapportionment. We have felt that reapportionment should always take place with an outside body, not by the legislature, so there'd be no possibility of those ins keeping themselves in by how they divide the state for voting areas.
That's correct.
So 1 year, when the Republicans controlled the Senate and the House, the League made a statement that we want reapportionment to be taken out of the legislature. The Republicans came down on us and said we're a bunch of Democrats. Several years later, when the Democrats were control of the legislature, that's when I was on the state board. League of Women Voters, the state of California, went to the legislature to have them declare a League of Women Voters week, month, something in honor of our history in the state of California. The time the head of that body said, no way would those Republican women get us to declare them a state something or other. So we enjoyed the fact that both parties at different times over the same issue got mad at us. However, this time, because they'd said it that way, a lot of newspapers in the state, including the Sacramento Bee, had editorials saying that they were wrong, that if they can make National Used Car Dealer Week or something, they can make statewide League of Women Voters. And so they did give us our thing, our dedication, whatever it was, our piece of paper.
It's probably a resolution.
Resolution. So we're going to go to break now, and then we'll be back again.
We'll see you.
We're back. Now, whether of your regular viewers know that this is a little different show, you can see, no jacket. I'm more relaxed because my guest is Trudy Jarrett, who's sitting here as a guest, like I say, with a fancy cup, as president of the League of Women Voters of San Luis Obispo County, as a producer of this show, as a camera person. And if you just tuned in, you missed meeting the rest of the people that work on the show because they all came out here and stuck their face in and we got to look at them. So we have discussed the League of Women Voters of the United States.
Briefly.
And the League of Women Voters of the state of California.
Yes.
Now, off the top of our head, do we have anything here that says our mission clearly?
You mean the specific words? Because we can certainly paraphrase our mission.
Can you paraphrase our mission for the audience?
Our mission is to inform and educate the public, and we promote active citizenship, which we feel will result in influencing public policy. Now, that is not verbatim, but that is essentially what we do.
And to that end, every year or two, we pick items that we are going to study.
Correct.
At the local level, the county level, the state level, and the national level. Sometimes they're different items, sometimes they're the same. This 2-year period, the whole of the United States is studying immigration.
Yes, we
and
are.
when they have finished studying it, every local league, all the way down the line, will have an opinion on immigration. They'll send it into the national office, and then the League of Women Voters of the United States, if all the members agree, enough of them agree,
through consensus.
Through a consensus, will have a statement on immigration.
Yes, and that study will be a 2-year study. League studies things very thoroughly. We don't just look at things in a casual way. And of course, this is a very, very important subject to study. And it's going to be an in-depth study on the issue. And when we have come to consensus, all the members across the United States, then we will come out publicly with our position on immigration.
And the reason we chose immigration as a study is because several years ago, we had what we call national program planning. And every league, all the way down to the ones with only 50, 60 members, talked about what do they want us to study as a nation.
That's correct.
And the prime desire was to study immigration. Everybody in all 50 states came up with that as the majority of them, so we took immigration. Now, the state of California, 2 years ago, chose to study
Healthcare.
healthcare. So throughout the state of, and that also came up from the bottom. We had state program planning.
We did, and energy. Now, we did energy in this state, which we just completed, and then healthcare is another one, which we're both active in both of those.
And these were subjects that the grassroots members wanted the state to assign people to study.
That's right.
And when they study something, they come up with a lot of information, send that information out, and then again, the local level, we determine how we feel. And there will be a convention in May when the results of the healthcare study will come up, and then the board and the membership will decide how they feel about that. Locally, we do the same thing.
We certainly do.
There are positions on every subject because the league has been around since 1920. In San Luis Obispo, only since
1960 is when this league formed, and we're very, very active league. We've actually made dramatic changes in the way that this county functions, the way this county looks, because after we studied certain issues that are of importance to this county, and formed our positions, we went out and we advocated. We speak before boards of supervisors, we speak before city councils, we write letters, we write op-ed pieces. We're very active. As a matter of fact, I want to add that the state energy study that we completed in the recent past, just very recently, actually is being used by some state agencies. The League has a wonderful reputation because all of our studies are in-depth. We go to a variety of sources, we verify those sources, and we pull a report together, and then we form a position. And the reports that we've developed because of studies are often used by state agencies and federal agencies. So I think we should be very proud of that.
Right. Now, locally, one of the things we always joke about is the juvenile hall. There was a juvenile hall many, many years ago that became outdated and too small, so the League worked hard to try to get the county to build a new juvenile hall, which they did out Highway 1. So we've been active in a lot of places. We've had a lot of members, but it's been since 1960 here and since 1920 in the national and the state level. So we've been here a long time, and in those years, every 2 years you come up with a new study. So we have a lot of subjects that we have studied in all these areas, and if we've studied something at the national level, you can use it locally. In other words, the League of Women Voters of the United States determined very early on that they were not in favor of child labor. So they pushed for child labor laws, which meant at that time that when that went through, the state of California could push for child labor laws in the state of California, and we here could push to enforce child labor laws here. So it works on all three levels. We call
that vertical
positions, going up and down, yes. And so there are a lot of positions. Some years, there's really nothing new to study, because we have a position on it.
But we do updates. I think we should probably mention that what your local league is looking at here in our county is our water position. We have a position that deals with various aspects of water in this county, and we're going to be adding on to that study, we believe. We don't have the results yet. We're just at the beginning of that study. But we will study the issue of water in this county once we, have come to consensus on that study and the position. Then we can go out and we will advocate on water. We have one already, but it needs updating.
And that's what we do when there's nothing new to do. We will update something. And like I said, we have positions on air, water, garbage.
We do.
Solid waste. We have two kinds.
We have social policy positions. Yes. We have environmental positions, et
Land
cetera.
use positions.
Right.
We have...
and, something else maybe we want to tell the audience is that we also, we have a nickname, and we're rather proud of this nickname. We are the government watchdogs. We have an observer corps, and we go out and we observe your elected bodies when they are meeting. Sometimes, unintentionally, there could be an elected official that might say or do something that League feels is not appropriate as a government official. It could be that they don't give enough time for they cut off public comment period, for example. You're familiar with the Brown Act, and the Brown Act requires certain things be followed when you have public meetings.
We should explain it to the audience. The Brown Act also has been extended. It also means that you can never have 3 members of an elected body or appointed body together. They can't have lunch together because they could be deciding something, and everything they decide has to be decided in public with an audience. So it's an assumption of guilt. So they don't go, if you want to have a wedding, I don't think you can even invite 3 of them to the wedding unless they really stay at different sides of the room, and you're very careful to have them divided up.
There's some little caveats that go along with that.
There's also the fact that they must notify that there's going to be a meeting. They must notify the public of what's going to be discussed at the meetings. There's a lot of rules.
The idea is that we don't want any decisions that are not made out in the eye of the public. As a matter of fact, the week that we're taping this is called Sunshine Week, and the League believes very strongly in open and accessible government. And Sunshine Week is supposed to underscore that. In our local papers, and it's within the month of March, whenever this will be shown, you'll know that. And in the local papers, a matter of fact, today I saw an op-ed piece dealing with open and accessible government issues. And that's something that League fights for. We make sure our local government, our state government, and our federal government is local and accessible. As a matter of fact, many of our cities now tape their council meetings and commission meetings and such. And League has been on record with a number of the local cities encouraging them to spend the appropriate funds so that they can televise all of their meetings, so that all of the citizens of that city, let us say, has access to government, because not everybody can go and sit in a chamber and
That's right.
observe
Some of
the
them do it
meeting.
live as it's happening. It's coming out
That's
there, and
right.
some of them tape it for later.
Or if you're working that evening or out of town, you can then go onto your local television government channel and you can see it the next day. It's
Right.
a wonderful, wonderful
Now,
opportunity to observe
One of
government in
the
action.
times that this took place was, well, nobody's an old league member, okay? We're a long time. So I'm not an old league member, I'm a 50-year member. And in that time, while I was here, one of the things happened. Our observer for a school board
Tell me this one.
came to the board of the local league to say that school board body gave somebody a job from inside that they haven't advertised for. Now, there's certain government jobs have to be advertised for.
right.
There's certain criteria that must be met. You must give people a chance to have that job. You may end up hiring somebody who was there before, but you're supposed to advertise for it. So they didn't. While she was sitting in the meeting, they decided to hire so-and-so. And she was incensed. So she quick went to the board and the president and said they broke the rules. I think it's some rule that she knew the rule of.
Well,
This is
they're-
a long time ago.
Okay. So what did we do as an
The
organization?
president of the league sent a letter to that board saying, on such and such a date, you hired somebody that you hadn't had a position advertised for, that you hadn't had anybody competing for.
So did they change their?
They changed it.
Okay.
And then they went through the whole process, opening it up, letting people try, explaining what they wanted. But of course, that particular group at that particular time gave the qualifications for the job written so that only that person could meet him. It'd be like I was advertising for a job, and I said, I'm going to interview everybody. She's got to have blonde hair, wear a black top, and have a gold thing hanging around her neck. But all of you can
I'm
come
hired.
and interview. But we're only going to hire the person who fits that qualifications.
You know,
And
while
so
we
that's
have
what they did.
while we have time, I would like to share with the audience, because I think this is so wonderful. One of the things that your county league has done for the community. A number of years ago, there was a movement afoot in the city of San Luis Obispo to cement over the San Luis Obispo Creek, much like the LA River. And it was the League of Women Voters that went before that council, and as I understand the story, had to fight to be heard because they were not going to allow them to speak. However, some of the council members supported the league speaking, and indeed the league did. After that, the league marched over to the newspaper and wanted to make sure there was a story in the newspaper about the fact that the then city council, many years ago, had a plan in place to cement over the creek in downtown. As a result of the league action and others in the community, but the league was a leader, we now have a beautiful creek in downtown San Luis Obispo, and it's the efforts of the league that made sure that that would occur.
Okay, thank you, Trudy, for giving us this time. Thank you for watching us. I don't know if I should close with our traditional closing that we've had since we started the show, but we'll do it anyhow.
We could create a new closing.
So I could just say goodbye, Trudy, but instead of that, I'll just say thank you, and you work your best, and we'll try to help you assure that good government stays the usual and never becomes unusual in the county of San Luis Obispo.